So what's the big problem with wealth creation? How do people like us, who didn't inherit a boatload of money, who are investing and building wealth from our own blood, sweat and tears, how do we invest in a way that gives us remarkable results and become financially free before retirement age? I don't know about you, but I am sick of hearing from wealth gurus and experts who don't walk their own talk and prescribe strategies that are a one-size-fits-all approach. For self-made people like you and me, I'm here to tell you that you don't need to be superhuman or already wealthy to reach financial freedom earlier than 65.
My name is Salena Kulkarni and I'm a passionate investor, but with a difference. I spend half my time running a community for wealthy entrepreneurs looking to reach financial freedom in 3 to 5 years using exclusive real estate deals that deliver consistent, predictable cash flow. The other half of my time, I support motivated young adults who want to get started on their wealth building journeys. I've been a chartered accountant and investor in the trenches for over 25 years, but I didn't come from money. So I want to help those who want to be self-made, master the fundamentals and fast track their financial freedom. I've had all the cuts and bruises in the past, and now in this podcast, I want to share real life experiences on what has worked, what hasn't worked, and how you can take action that will set you apart from 99% of other investors so that you can get the results you want faster.
Hey guys, so I want to talk today about whether or not being wealthy is a privilege that belongs to the elite few or whether it's within reach of anyone who wants it. Now, this is a very polarized topic. It's something that I've certainly heard debated many times. I think it's a complex argument, but I want to try and pull it apart a little bit in today's podcast just to give you some insights into, what I've witnessed, what I've seen working, and what I think makes the single biggest difference to where you land and how much wealth you actually create. So let me start by sharing some of the statistics around distribution of wealth, which some of you may have heard before. It's definitely stuff that's commonly bandied around. But one of the things that I kind of just reconfirmed as a 2023 up-to-date statistic is that 50% of the world's net wealth actually belongs to the top 1% of the population. The next one along is that if you look at the top 10% of adults worldwide, globally, they actually hold 85% of the wealth, while the rest is really 15% sitting in the bottom 90. When you look at data like that, it's very easy to be discouraged, to think, well, why should I even bother? How can I compete? But I think the first thing that's really important to do here is to go back and really define and clarify for yourself what is the purpose of you wanting the wealth that you want. And what purpose does it serve? So, for example, if you're someone who lives on $100,000 a year or $150,000 or $80,000, whatever that number is, and you create a pool of assets that actually deliver you that level of income, then that is financial freedom. So worrying that your net worth isn't up there with the multi-billionaires of the world is a completely irrelevant argument. So, that's where I wanted to start, is by saying, the really underpinning concept behind, is this something that's reserved for an elite few? The answer is off the bat, no, because we're not talking about the ultimate goal being, the person who has the highest net worth. We're talking about the ultimate freedom is derived from having a pool of assets which delivers you more passive income than it costs you to run your life. That is the ultimate definition of freedom. If you agree with me on that, then the real question is, well, how are we going to get there? And we've certainly tackled this in many other podcast episodes, but I guess going back to this idea of how do I get to, $80,000, $100,000, $150,000 in passive income? Is that something that I can't do as an average citizen? Is it something that only a very small percentage of people can do? And what I would actually say is that, historically, the idea of growing wealth was very much reserved for those who were born into the right family or who, built some, ginormous Goliath of an industry and made a lot of money that way. But I want to kind of really make this very clear. I don't think there's been a better time in history to put yourself in the situation where you can become wealthy. And wealthy by the definition that I just shared with you. Wealthy by definition where you earn more income from your investments than it costs you to live. I think the reason that now more than any other time in history, this is a really important conversation, is that, there are things happening in the world right now that certainly were not happening when I started my wealth building journey. And I think if you come at this with the right lens and you strive to grow, both from an evolutionary point of view and in terms of your knowledge base, absolutely 100% you can put yourself in a situation where you can retire early, put yourself in a position where you are financially independent much, much sooner than I've ever done. Look, I'm the first to admit, in my own journey of wealth building, it has been incredibly meandering. There has been so much trial and error. And so what I'm really passionate about right now is actually helping people who want to avoid the trial and error, who actually want to understand in real terms what actually works and what actually doesn't work. What are the landmines? What are the, secret ladders that will get me ahead? And, so that's the kind of information that I'm trying to, work out how to share with the world right now. And so if I think about who is it that you have to be in order to put yourself in that small percentage of people who do actually create wealth? And I think it's all about the attributes around grit, determination. Now, assuming you're not in that, luxurious position of having a crazy high income, then that capacity to, delay gratification, to set goals, financial goals, and work towards them rather than, just buying what you want on a whim, or, buying things on credit, or taking loans for personal assets when, you could wait another year and then just buy it in cash. Like, having the wherewithal to recognize that there is a very clear skill set that is very vast, and it's very complex chemistry to think about, well, what are all the things I need to know if I want to build wealth? Because you have to understand how to manage money, how to work with banks, how to borrow, how to safely use leverage, how to manage and eliminate debt, how to identify good deals from bad deals, how to set your investing rules. There are so many aspects or skills that you want to learn over time. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to get overwhelmed by those at the beginning. What you want to do is actually focus on what is within your control. And above all else, keep it simple. Anyone out there who is advocating that this is really complex stuff is kidding themselves. Like, it is not complex. The challenge is, yes, that there's a lot of information out there. So your biggest, challenge, if you like, is really to identify and discern what really works, what really matters, and then leave the rest. And I think the problem right now is that, there's a whole, army of people out there claiming to be gurus, and it's really hard to distinguish between the gurus who actually legitimately have the experience and the results, and those who are really just, trying to create their own gravy train. So with that in mind, I think what I really wanted to kind of talk about is, where would I be focusing if I was setting out on my wealth building journey today? And there's really two keys. And, I know everybody wants to jump straight to, well, where should I invest? And what I'm actually going to suggest in this particular podcast is, if you want to be a wealthy individual, but you don't get the fundamentals right, then you can pretty much give up the idea of, ever having sustainable wealth. And the reason I say this is I have met many, many entrepreneurs who do this fabulous job of building this great business, and then they sell their business for a huge paycheck, but they haven't got any skills around stewardship. They don't have any skills around, money management and caring for their money. They have no interest in investing. And so they get to this place where they end up just eating the cow. They end up just, slowly eroding their capital till they find themselves in a situation where they either have to go back to work or they have to kind of cut down their lifestyle expenses. So in terms of practical advice that I would suggest that people start to focus in on, I would say that, you really want to be thinking about, first of all, are you managing the money that flows into your world at the best possible way? Like, are you really crystal clear about, where money comes when it goes into your bank account from wherever it's earned? Do you allocate? Do you have a good handle on where money flows in terms of where it gets spent? And then the second piece is, are you doing a good job of systematically allocating not only capital or your income to the investing endeavor? And then the second thing is, what are you doing to grow the cadence around which, or the regularity around which you put your head into the money and wealth building game? Now, the reason I say that is I think there's a lot of people, particularly as you get busy and you have families and kids and so forth, where the idea of growing wealth is something that you say is very important, but it falls into the not urgent. And so not much gets done. So if you're young and you are ambitious and you are thinking about building wealth, now is the time to really invest in growth from an education perspective and, find ways to give love and attention to your investing activities now. I'm at the stage of life where, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of deals and investments and things going on. So my cadence around wealth building is almost daily. There's almost every day I'm doing something to kind of move the needle, whether it's shutting down a bank account, transferring some money, cleaning something up. But there are also lots of people out there who maybe look at it once a month, once every 6 months when their accountant tells them. So you want to be really clear that, where energy goes, let me get this right, where attention goes, energy flows. That was the call cry of one of my past mentors. Where attention goes, energy flows. And so if you want to be wealthy, then you got to give it some attention. So guys, in terms of a call to action in this particular one, what I'm actually going to say to you is, I think it's really important that you self-reflect. This is a self-reflection exercise. I want you to think about how important is it to you to be financially independent. The original title of this podcast was, Is being wealthy a privilege that belongs to the elite few? And what I would say to you is, wealth is certainly something that only flows to a very small number of people. I completely, disagree with the idea that it's a privilege of the elite few. I think anyone who sets their mind to it, plays the long game, and who takes action to, self-reflect. And this is where, really the call to action on this one from a self-reflection point of view is to start some kind of journal. And not a journal where you're just writing down, today I did blah, but a journal where you're thinking and reflecting on, what are the attributes that you need to cultivate if you want to generate wealth? Who are the people you need to talk to? What are the actions that you need to take? What are the things that you need to discard or get rid of? Are there friends who are a really negative influence on you from a spending perspective that you maybe need to distance yourself from? Are there people that who have great relationships with money that you need to spend time with? But this idea of reflecting in a journal, it's definitely something that I've done, many times. I've kept journals since I was 15 years old. If you can start to think about keeping a specific, if you already keep journals, great. But if you open the idea of maintaining a journal specifically for the purpose of documenting and reflecting on your wealth journey, you will immediately set yourself apart from everybody else. And, if you can kind of embrace this idea that, wealth is really consistent efforts towards growing your asset base over a long period of time, you're going to make mistakes, but that's just part of the journey, and you can just reflect on mistakes, you can reflect on wins, those sorts of things. You are going to find that in a very short space of time, you are going to have the wealth of your dreams. So guys, I hope this was a useful podcast episode, short and sweet, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.
If you're feeling frustrated that despite doing everything right in the property investing playbook and you're no closer to financial freedom, then head on over to incosiwealth.com to learn more about how you can use alternative investments to catapult your investing income and blend strategies to shave decades off your timeline to financial freedom. See you on the next episode.